You're standing there. The shiny tiled showroom floor is dead quiet, except for that low, expensive hum of the aircon. You close the door on a brand new 3 Series or even a C-Class, and it makes that solid, muffled thud. Smells linger in the air like fresh, heavy leather and ambition. A few fleeting staff and the occasional what looks like an aristocratic client comes out from behind a pillar, and then you look at the monthly payment on that slick little printed spec sheet in the front window, and you think, yeah, look, I can swing that. It's doable. But what you're actually doing in that exact moment is falling straight into a psychological marketing pool created by some of the best to grace their majesty. And in that moment, I get it, you're not the only one, mind you. We seem only to focus entirely on the immediate sensory experience, that being the prestige of the badge, the polite salesperson offering us a sparkling water and access to the fruit bowl, an array of higher class dessert offerings and an unlimited coffee station refill. But then we proceed to completely ignore the hard, cold sums that start the very second those tyres roll across the dealership curb and into the traffic. It's a classic case of confidence hiding the total lack of clarity. Take the first real hurdle here in Australia. It's the luxury car tax, the LCT. If you're looking at a standard petrol or diesel import, the moment that vehicle's value crosses $80,809, the federal government steps in. And they don't just take a polite little slice. They take 33% of every single dollar over that threshold. Yep, you heard that correct. 33%. Now, if you go fuel efficient, say a hybrid or an EV under a certain consumption limit, that threshold bumps up to 91,661, but the principle is exactly the same. You are paying a massive premium just for the privilege of importing that metal, and that's just the entry fee. That's before we even start to talk about the ongoing holding costs. People work out their budget based on the loan repayment, but they don't factor in that a set of 20-inch premium run-flat tyres for a German SUV is going to run them $2,000 easily, or that the insurance premium has a European loading on it too, just because the replacement parts are valued in euros. If you aren't calculating the total 5-year cost of ownership before you sign, you aren't actually buying a car. You're just leasing a lifestyle you possibly can't quite afford. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't buy European, far from it. I too love the build quality, the advanced features on offer a few years ahead typically, and the status sense of the vehicles. But we have to get past the myths, the absolute rubbish you hear at backyard barbecues about how these cars are inherently unreliable or that they're just designed to break. It's simply not true. BMW, Audi, Mercedes, Volkswagen, they are engineering powerhouses. The tolerances on these engines are incredibly tight. They are built for the Autobahn, built to run at high speeds for hours on end with total stability. The issue isn't the engineering, it's the maintenance, or rather, the lack of it. In Australia, we have this habit of treating cars like appliances. We drive a Japanese commuter car, skip a service by 6 months, and nothing happens because those cars are designed to survive neglect. You try that with a high-performance German engine built to precise tolerances, and it will shut down to protect itself. It's not unreliable. It's intolerant of neglect, and it tells you that by screaming. And then there's the myth about parts. People think if a headlight goes or a sensor misbehaves, you have to wait 3 weeks for a hand-delivered crate from Munich. Absolutely not. The aftermarket sector for European parts is massive now, especially here. You don't have to buy the branded box from the dealer franchise. Brands like Bosch, MAN, Lemferder, they are the ones who actually manufacture the parts for the car companies in the first place. You can get the exact same component without the car brand's logo on the box for half the price, and more often, surprisingly, it's readily available through independent local suppliers. Now, you also don't need a physicist with a specialized European degree to plug in a diagnostic tool either. Modern independent workshops have access to the exact same high-tech digital diagnostics as the big dealerships. They can read the fault codes, update the digital service history, and do it all without charging you $250 an hour just for the privilege of sitting in their waiting room. Even the fuel thing gets blown out of proportion. Yes, if you're running a highly strung turbo petrol Euro, you absolutely need to feed it 95 or 98 octane premium fuel. If you choose to put cheap 91 regular unleaded in a modern BMW turbo, the engine sensor detects the pre-ignition, retards the timing, and you lose power and efficiency. But here's another thing the Eddie expert won't admit. Not every single Euro needs the top-shelf stuff either. Many of the base model, non-turbo or modern highly efficient layouts are perfectly fine on regular unleaded and are adapted in design to suit worldwide applications. You just have to actually open the fuel cap, look at the sticker and read the manual. Don't just assume, learn. And as for lifespan, look at Volvo or an older Mercedes-Benz diesel. They are legendary for doing 400, 500,000 kilometers. The durability is built into the metallurgy, but it only lasts if you keep to the schedules. If you treat the maintenance schedule like a polite suggestion, the car will treat its lifespan the same way. So how can you actually play this game and win? What's the blueprint to cost-efficient ownership? Well, the gold standard of European car ownership in Australia is incredibly simple, but it requires you to break up with the dealership marketing past the factory warranty period. Of course, if you can afford to continue to pay a higher ongoing maintenance cost, that will also prove beneficial to your trade value in the end, but it is no longer completely necessary. You need to find a specialist independent European mechanic. Ideally, a shop run by an ex-dealership master technician who decided they'd had enough of the corporate structure and set up their own shop using their learnings. Believe me, it's more common than you think. These guys know the cars inside out. Usually these Euro techs are really into their craft, and it proves in their work. They will know the exact same procedures. They will use the same, or at least similar, or if different, their preferred diagnostic gear, but their labor rate isn't inflated to pay for a glass-fronted showroom in a high-rent district with free chai latte refills and a croissant. That's how you bypass the massive dealer markup and continue to maintain your aging M Sport at a budget-friendly level without turning your back on its oh-so-delicate needs. But you also have to know what you're buying. Each brand has its own specific quirks, its own weak points that you need to budget for. Take BMW, for instance. Incredible engines, but their cooling systems are notoriously heavy on plastic components. Around the 100,000 kilometer mark, those plastic expansion tanks, hose fittings, and water pumps get brittle from the heat cycles and they start to crack. If you know that, you replace them preventatively. What about Audi? Beautiful interiors, sharp style lines, great tech, but some of their older TFSI petrol engines have a real appetite for oil due to piston ring wear. You need to monitor that. They can have electrical bugs that are hard to chase for your average Automaster's mechanic, and so creating alliances with these specialist technicians here is important. Volkswagen's DSG dual clutch gearboxes. They are brilliant and so smooth and responsive when they're moving, but they require a specific fluid change every 60,000 kilometers without fail, or the mechatronic unit is subject to fault, and that is a very expensive day at the office. They hate stop-start driving, and they hate being jolted into taking off. For example, as if the user was on their phone as the light went green, and now the person behind them has beeped them into moving promptly. That's your quickest way to burn the twin clutch system into a thousands of dollars mistake. And then there are Land Rovers. Oh goodness me, the beautiful Land Rovers. Absolute darlings. Look, they are gorgeous, highly capable machines, but they are a high maintenance relationship. If you buy a used Range Rover without a bulletproof service history, you are essentially signing up to fund your mechanic's next holiday. That's all. Which brings me to the absolute ultimate weapon in your arsenal. The pre-purchase inspection. I cannot stress this enough. Do not buy a used European car based on a clean, shiny history book and a nice test drive around the block. You pay an independent specialist $300 or $400 to put that car up on a hoist, plug in their diagnostics, and look for the oil leaks hidden by the plastic undertrays. That $300 is the best money you will spend if you are not capable enough to examine these things yourself. Let's say they find a weeping seal, a worn suspension bush, or a plastic starting to look brittle. You can either walk away or you can use that specific quote to knock potentially thousands off the price. That is how you bring clarity to the deal. In most cases, unfortunately in today's portrait of the private seller's world, the driveway, the owner probably knew that and is potentially or maybe even probably the reason it's listed for sale. It is less prone to be the case in a dealership, but then again, even they can make that mistake too from time to time. So here we are. Let's revise, shall we? As an everyday buyer looking to enter the upmarket realm, pull back from the perfume while in the showroom. Make sure the long-term math is achievable and your future finances are solid. Keep to the manufacturer's schedule and the manufacturer during the factory warranty period, then find your specialist. If you do your homework, then you too can drive a brilliant piece of European engineering without losing your shirt. All right, that's probably enough truth-telling for one day. Till next Tuesday. Talk soon.